Recent riots and mass protests in Brazil have highlighted the country's social and economic fragility, and with the eyes of the world soon upon it for the 2014 World Cup, there's concerns the country's leaders won't be able to stop a repeat of the violence that was sparked by hikes in public transport costs and public outrage at the price of hosting the world's biggest sporting events. It includes the Olympics, of course.
Well, that's right. That's coming up in a few more years. Like Australia, Brazil's economy has been tied to mining and resources, a sector which has been hit hard by the global financial crisis and a slowdown in Chinese manufacturing. Tim Harcourt from the Australian School of Business has just come back from Rio, where he's been looking at ways Australia and Brazil can cooperate on economic progress. Good morning to you, Tim Harcourt.
Bom dia. G'day.
So that's
My
how
Portuguese
it's done
ain't
in...
that
Ain't that good? That's right. At least you didn't think I was speaking Spanish. Yeah, nice to be with you.
That's great. Now, Brazil and Australia, it's not a connection that we've really thought about here. It has it in terms of economic ties and how we might further our relationship. So where will we be looking at building some ties with Brazil, if that is in fact something that we should be looking at?
No, you're right. You know, traditionally we're the great southern lands, bit out of mind, tyranny of distance between us. We always look to London, Brazil's look to Lisbon. But when you look at our economic endowments, resources, agriculture, large land mass, we've got a lot of similarities, and in those areas, particularly in mining and agriculture, we've done a lot of exchange, a lot of research, but obviously outside each other's spheres of influence in many ways.
Tim, obviously in Australia, the story is that we've had the mining boom, we've done very well out of it, although not everyone has necessarily benefited from it. What's the story been in Brazil, which is a country often cited as has the greatest disparity between rich and poor? No,
that's right. I mean, they've had a terrible inequality in Brazil. The last 10 years have been better. Under Presidents Lula and Dilma, they pulled 33 million people out of poverty, which is effectively the size of Argentina. But traditionally what we've found is that the bamboo shoots from China have lifted Brazil at the same time as they've been lifting Australia. So as China slows, both Brazil and Australia have had to make that adjustment. The difference with Brazil is it's got 200 million people for a start, but it's also got a very large manufacturing sector, big exporter of Embraer jets, and all the automotive sector is very large. So the high exchange rate from the mining boom has created real difficulty with their manufacturing sector in Brazil, and that's where a lot of the social tensions that you're seeing in a lot of these protests that have occurred in Brazil.
So are they managing to transition for their economy? Obviously a great reliance on natural resources. That even includes mowing down parts of the Amazon, of course.
Well, they've had that issue, haven't they, with ethanol and so on.
But you mentioned the manufacturing sector. That's an argument that applies here, that not enough has been put into, post the resources boom, what do we do? How do we get the country moving? How does it apply in Brazil?
Well, we don't want to follow Brazil's lesson on that, because they've had very strong protection in their manufacturing sector, and that started to really hurt them and really annoys Mexico and some other countries that are competing with them. And the real issue for them there is they have such large internal prices, what we call Brazil prices, that the wealthy people in Brazil fly to Miami every year to do their shopping. And the poorer people, some of my hostesses in Rio said, even my maids will now fly to Argentina because of the exchange rate to do their shopping. So you've got all these old airports full of people going north and going south, and that's putting a lot of pressure on the infrastructure. And one reason you're seeing the protests is that brand spanking new football stadiums, soccer stadiums for the World Cup, but the airports and the public transport need a real upgrade.
So, Tim, in terms of those protests and signs of disunity, conflict, tension within the country, surely that would also have an impact in terms of the overall economic and political situation. So is there a question over Brazil's stability going into the future?
Well, I think it's actually a positive thing. I mean, Brazil had it's 25 years since they had a dictatorship. So Brazilians always say these protests, it's not Turkey, it's not Syria, it's not an Arab Spring. This is Brazil expressing its democracy. And we're Brazilians are very proud of what they've achieved over the last 10 years. But they're worried about the corruption, they're worried about problems with infrastructure, and they can do a lot better.
Now, on the sporting front, the Socceroos taking on Brazil.
7th of September in Brasilia.
Yeah.
Brazil National Day.
They stand a chance.
There's a big chance there will be. I spoke to a lot of my friends in Brazil, Aussies. They're going to be a big contingent there in Brasilia, cheering them on, the ambassador. Kim Fulgrave, the Consul General, Shannon Powell, all of them are going to be
We know
there
what the
cheering
South
him on.
American crowds are like.
Yeah, well,
It must be amazing.
they're a bit tame in Brazil here because they're all public servants, so he might have a chance.
Well, we'll hold on to that slim hope.
Let's
then.
go, September
Tim
7th.
Harcourt, thank you so much for your
Obrigado.
time.
Thank you.